And welcome to Let Them Talk. I'm Paul DiRienzo. We got another great show in store for you this evening. And rejoining me is our guest, Heide Hatry. Welcome, Heide, welcome back to Let Them Talk.
Hello, thank you for having me again.
Yeah, great. Well, you were so amazing the last time. We had to have you because we barely scratched the surface of all the great work that you're doing as an artist and a writer as well. And I'd like to just begin maybe by asking you to tell me a little bit. I mean, you gave me this list, and there's so many things that are happening and so many things you're working on. Where do we want to begin? Let's begin on the events that are upcoming that folks can go to see your work, and then we're going to describe you and your work, like how you came to do this kind of work. And it's just like, definitely tune in, guys. Keep tuned in. This is interesting. Okay, so Heide, let's begin by asking you to tell me what's coming up. I mean, I have the dates here. You have an artist talk coming up on Thursday at 7 p.m. at the Gallery Sensei at 135 Eldridge Street in the Lower East Side. Great location. I saw you there before. And tell me what's happening there at the gallery with this artist talk.
I was invited from Artist Talk on Art to do a panel about my work. Yeah. And I was wondering what is actually connecting my work, the connecting part of all my work.
Sure.
And I realized it is material.
Mm-hmm.
It is a kind of unusual material I'm using.
Yeah.
And my approach to material is kind of different. Actually, I was thinking, let them talk. Your show title is exactly what I feel, what my relationship is to the material. I let the material talk. The material talks through my work to the audience. Mm-hmm. And exactly about this are all the events which are upcoming. So there is the Artist Talk, where I introduce my entire body of work, which is mainly related to material, on this Thursday. Mm-hmm. at Gallery Sensei. There is this panel I was talking to you about at the National Arts Club.
Right, that's coming up. The National Arts Club, that's that's on Tuesday, November 28th, right?
Yeah.
And that's the ATOA.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Artist Talk on Art.
Artist Talk on Art. Oh, see, that's what ATOA means.
Yeah,
very good. There you go.
Easy.
And at the National Arts Club, I love that building, 15 Gramercy Park, right across from Gramercy Park. Mm-hmm. And if people know the Lower East Side and know where that is, the city's only private park that I know about anyway. And so you'll be giving what is the Artist Talk on Art? Is that a continuation of
the Artist Talk
Thursday?
The Artist Talk on Art is basically a panel.
Mm-hmm.
A panel which includes very wonderful people. Mm-hmm. Some of them have contributed to some of my books. Yeah. Only Laila Pedro, who is the editing manager of managing editor.
Yes.
Of Hyperallergic, the magazine. Okay. She has not worked on my work before or collaborated with me, but she did an interview for the Brooklyn Rail with me. Mm-hmm. But the other people on the panel, which are Mark Pachter, he's the director of the National Portrait Gallery in Washington, is emeritus.
Emeritus. You said it better than I did.
Director
right.
emeritus.
Right. Retired, but still has the position.
Yeah.
Honorable.
He wrote something for the Icons in Ash book.
Right. And that's what we talked about last time, just to make the connection, is Icons in Ash. We'll be talking about some of the other work you do, but Icons in Ash were portraits you did of people using their ashes, the ashes that were of their remains after their death. And these are friends of yours who asked you to do that before their death, and you did it.
Yeah.
And they're amazing. I mean, we taled about that at length the last time you were on.
And I will do that in future, and I will also do it for animals now. That is my new thing.
And you brought an animal.
Yeah, I brought one animal.
Right.
Which is an animal.
That's actually
made out of this animal's ashes.
Wow.
As a memorial. So when you look at the animal, you actually see the animal. It is the animal. Mm-hmm. And this reality in art, that is what really interests me and what I realized. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So after the panel, there will also be John Ronowski, who is an art dealer and rare bookseller. Mm-hmm. and has worked with me a lot.
And you were once a rare bookseller.
I was once a rare bookseller.
We'll talk about that in a minute. And so the Thursday, this coming Thursday, November 16th, an artist talk at Gallery Sensei featuring yourself at 135 Elder Street, Heide Hatry. And then on Tuesday, November 28th, there's going to be a panel discussion, and that's the National Arts Club, 15 Gramercy.
And I forgot one panelist, which is J.W. McCormack. He is an amazing writer, and he has contributed to this book.
Okay, Heads and Tails.
Oh, no.
Oh, this one over here.
Not a rose, sorry.
No, not a rose. We'll talk about. Stefan Stucks talked a little bit about your work, but we have you on to talk about it now. And then the third event you have, that was you were talking about being 2D shows and 3D shows. Now Wednesday, November 29th, which is not tomorrow, but next week, Wednesday, right? Is that it, or the week after? Is it?
Probably the week after.
Right, after Thanksgiving. After Thanksgiving, exactly. Right. November 20th, opening, and that's the opening of Material Reality 2 at the it's with you performing at 7 p.m. Right, and that's located at Stucks Gallery. He doesn't call it Stucks Gallery now, right?
Salon Stucks West.
Say again?
Salon Stucks West.
Salon Stucks West.
520 West End Avenue.
Okay, West End Avenue, right? And that's going to be on November 29th, and that's where you show your 3D material and where you're going to do a live performance. And your performance art is amazing. We haven't even barely touched on all your great performance work. So let's talk about material. Because you have some. What is your favorite material to use? Here's a book, Skin. I'm not sure if this is where you wanted to start, but it's as good as any place. You have a book, Skin, and there's skin on the surface. And what is the material? Is that actually real skin?
Yeah.
But not from people.
Pigs.
Pigs.
Pig's skin is exactly like human skin. And you were asking me before how I got into the whole material thing. And that is a very kind of personal story, because before that I was
a rare bookseller.
Yeah, but when I studied art, I studied to make work out of normal art material. And I started in 2003, after my husband left me, to do something else. And the reason why I got into the whole thing was because I was extremely furious when he left. And I wanted to kill him. And I was not quite sure how to do that, because I'm not exactly the killing type. So I had this certain idea that I could make an effigy out of him. Not out of him.
Excellent idea.
An effigy of him. Somebody who would look exactly like him. And growing up on a factory farming pig farm, I knew first how a pig was structured, because it was my job to take the pig apart and put it in plastic bags and label it. So I took out the organs of the pig. And knowing that
you were not squeamish.
No.
Not squeamish in the slightest. Right? So
knowing it was just normal. It was actually material.
And that was and you grew up in
the south of Germany.
In the south of Germany, all right. Munich area.
So knowing that pig skin is exactly like human skin. When I worked with pigs, I had my hands on the pig, and my hand looked exactly like the skin which I was touching. I had this idea to just go to the slaughterhouse and get all the material I need to rebuild a person out of the material from the slaughterhouse. So I got a lot of pig skin, I got a lot of meat, I got the bones, mainly from bulls, because I first wanted to create the skeleton of the person. Then I got all the organs from pigs, because they are very similar like ours, and to put them in the body. Then cover it with meat, cover it with skin, and then sit him underneath of a tree reading. And I had a friend who had two pit bull terrier, and they were supposed to not be fed for a few days, and they were supposed to come from behind the tree where he was sitting and reading and just eat him. And I would tape that.
That's why I have you on the show. You're like one of the greatest guests I ever had. I love what you do, Heide. You are great. All right, tell us more about your wonderful work.
And the interesting thing was that...
Did he do what you said? It was. Did it happen? Well, tell the interesting thing.
I started with the head, and it was very difficult because it was the first time that I worked with pigskin. Meaning, if you just cut it with a very sharp knife, you don't realize what problems you run into if you want to bring it in a certain shape. And if you want to sew it, for example, pigskin, the pigskin I had, that was from the back of the pig, which is, in the meantime, I know that, is much thicker than the skin from the belly, for example.
Okay.
And to get through the skin, to sew the skin together, was a real challenge. I even had leather needles, but it was really hard. And also to figure out how to deal with this completely new material. I had not worked with it as an artist with that, or didn't need to bring it in a certain shape, and didn't know exactly how to basically cut the skin in a way that I could fold it over my the face I had made out of meat. So it was very challenging, and for the eyes, I used pig eyes. For the eyelashes, I used the pig eyelashes, and it was just perfect because my husband was blonde, and most of the pigs have blonde eyelashes.
Was he German?
Yeah.
Blonde, blue-eyed?
Yeah, and the pig eyes I got by chance were blue, and he had blue eyes. And later on, when I was working with that material, continued working with that material, I realized that that was a total coincidence, because there are as many pigs who have brown eyes or grayish eyes or green eyes. And
I had no idea.
Yeah, me neither. And normally you don't know that, because pigs have this have a lot of fat underneath of their eyelids, and that presses the eyelids together, and so there is normally only a tiny slit, and you don't see the color of the eyes. But that was just so amazing that I found, and therefore, because the eyes and the eyelashes were so perfect, the person I created looked actually exactly like my husband, and that was really frightening.
Does he know about this?
Yeah.
What did he think about it?
We don't talk.
Okay.
But I guess he doesn't like it so much. So when I had finished the head, the head started to stink.
Right, that was my question.
Yeah, and that was a real problem, because I really wanted to do this project, and I stupidly
to preserve it. Right?
You have to remember that I was seriously hurt, and that I was seriously angry, and that I was furious, and I was not thinking in a way I would normally. So, for example, I forgot that I had all this material, all these lungs and kidneys and intestines and everything what I needed for the inside of the body. I had that still in the car, and it was June, and it was super hot. And when after 3 days, when I realized I'm not going to be able to make this whole body in the way I had planned it, I thought, oh my God, this stuff is all in the car. And I went through the car, and the car was full of maggots. And it was really disturbing. But what I wanted to say before, the interesting thing was, after I had tossed his head in the trash and the kind of project was done, I felt still sad that my life will now be in a different way than I had expected it to be. But I was not, the curiosity was gone. I was calm and tried to realize what to do with my life now and how to deal with it. But it was really life-changing, just the attempt to execute this idea.
Yeah.
And the most interesting thing, I loved to do it. And I think it was this experience like Proust describes in his book, where he remembers this Madeleine, this taste of the Madeleine, which is a cookie in whatever. You have that is a common kind of knowledge now, that you have with a certain smell emotional reactions. And when I was a little child, I was responsible for this butching stuff from probably 7 to 15. And I had my own room. It was a kind of cold room in the basement, where I cut the pigs in pieces. And I really loved that. I had a lot of siblings, and that was the only place where I could be by myself and make my father happy, because I really liked it that I did that. And
He liked it?
Yeah.
Why did he like it, your father?
Because that was a job which had to be done, and there was a child who was willing to do it, and the other children didn't want to do it. So he liked that.
Right. It's very interesting.
And this feeling of happiness, I didn't know that I felt that back then. But when I started to work with pigskin and the smell and everything, I felt totally happy. It was this connection with a feeling I had when I was young.
You seem to be ahead of this meat dress. You notice how, like Lady Gaga, I think at one time, and different people have worn these dresses, these clothings made out of meat. And that's sort of, they've done it, I don't know, as a protest or because it's unusual and artistic. But you've taken it, you were doing it before anybody.
No.
No.
Jana Steerbach was the first woman who did the meat dress.
Okay.
And she did it in, I think, 84 or something.
Okay, wow.
Really early. And Lady Gaga just
copied it, basically.
Yes, she rather steals. If she should just say, I got that idea from Jana Steerbach, and give her some credit, and then she can do whatever she wants.
Sure.
But not credit an artist who had the idea. I think it's wrong.
Right. Heide Hatry, thanks for joining us again and talking about your art and the background to it. And I know you've brought some images, and we were going to show a few of them to the audience, so we have some minutes left. But I wanted to, I just want to give I guess what they call the trigger warning. Right, so this is pretty amazing art. It's very avant-garde, and if this is something, I'm going to give the same warning I might say if we were going to use 4-letter words or show naked people. This is the time, if you don't like things made out of pigskin, to turn away. But if you do, or if you are interested in avant-garde art, definitely stay in touch, all right, and stay tuned. So we're going to go right now. You've been warned. The trigger warning is out. And Heide, let's begin showing some of the material you have.
You started with this book, and this was actually my first book, where after I had this experience and started to work with skin, I was totally fascinated. And I realized that this real thing is so full of meaning. And I really liked that, and I made all kinds of sculptures out of it. And looking at it later on, I realized that it didn't look really like a style of art. It looked like different artists have done different things. And therefore, I came up with this idea to act like I'm the curator of that book, and I had invited 7 artists who are working with skin, but it was all me in disguise, so that I could put all these people together in a book. And this disguising part was so much fun. I had for everybody a different wig. I changed my face with, you call it prosthetic makeup, which is a very thin wax. You can just put it on your chin, and then you have a nice long chin, or on your nose, or whatever. And you can totally look totally different, and it was so much fun. And I had invited art historians who would write about these 7 different personas, which whom I gave my biography, so that this is basically a biographical or memoir almost, in a way that art is connected to it. So
where is this book available, by the way?
That is an old book, 2005.
All right. So
and
how about
it
in
is
general?
German and English, bilingual. What?
And so in general, people can go to your website.
Yeah, and you can buy everything on my website.
Okay, so Heide Hatry, how do you spell your name for everybody? I don't know if it's up there, but
HEIDE HATRY.com. That's my website, and there's my contact information, and there you can see all the other projects I did. But Paul suggested that we show some pictures. This is one of the artists of the skin book, meaning me, who used pigskin in a way that different things were, for example, covered with pigskin.
All right. I love the use of the barbed wire.
Yeah, that was just there. That is a face made out of pigskin, and that is one which is preserved in the technique of Gunther von Hagens. He has this wonderful technique where he it's called plastination, where he sucks out the fluid out of every pore and presses in a vacuum room silicone into the pores, and you have exactly the structure of the material, but it is plastic.
The organic stuff has been
exactly
replaced.
So it keeps the way it is. Probably you have seen Body Walls, this exhibition which are everywhere, where the dead person completely is used that way.
I know.
Here that is just
what are they
piece of skin cut out. Mainly, I use belly skin, and then sewn together and filled with stuff, and then laid in the landscape, and then I let them rot, and then I take photos when they are rotten, and so on. And I have made also, you were talking about that before, different performances where I also include material. So, for example, I made a room completely out of pigskin. I skinned 193 pigs for that room.
That gives you some idea how many pork chops we eat every year.
Yeah. Oh, and that is exactly that is a very important point. The reason why I'm doing it, I'm really interested in making people aware what we do. We produce an enormous amount of animals, and we throw basically 50% away, which we don't eat. That was I addressed that also.
So this is all commercially available materials, right? Or do you?
Yeah, it's not even commercially available. I'm not paying anything for it because people don't want that. In the old days, or in South America, for example, they still use pigskin to make soap. That's what we did in the old days too. But now I can go to the slaughterhouse and they give me bags and bags of skin because nobody knows what to do with it. I'm not paying for this stuff. It's all trash, which I use to make people aware what we are doing, how we use and abuse nature.
And there you are working in, is that real blood?
That is real blood, real pig's blood. I skinned pigs. They are, as an example, one pig.
I've seen it done for dinner. I saw somebody, a Filipino family, hoist up a pig for Easter and kill it right in front of me and made ribs and everything. They cooked it and ate it.
We cooked that and ate it too. It was a 3-day performance, and I wanted to make sure that this pig didn't die for nothing, but in general I use only the trash.
I see.
And but I wanted to show how that is done. Therefore, I needed the whole thing.
And I wanted, because we have
it was a room where you could go in, you could touch the skin, and that is our kind of earliest way of living. We have our tents were made out of animal parts.
Wow.
And then let's forget about that. This is from the book Heads and Tails, and here I made basically I got back to this first story and made female busts from pigskin.
Is this a person?
This is actually a bust made out of clay.
Yeah, sure.
And I covered the clay with pigskin. I staple the pigskin onto the soft clay. I use pig eyes, pig eyelashes. For the mouth, I use a raw meat, and I give them a wig and dress them up. And because they look extremely realistic, I felt they need a life. And I've invited in this book 27 female writers to give these women a life in giving them a story so that they become alive, have a life.
Okay.
And the exactly. So then the other project was the flowers,
Right, we
which
talked a little bit about
Stefan
that.
Stock
Yes,
talked
Stefan Stock talked
about.
about that. And these are flowers made out of also organ meat.
So
and
this
things
is,
like
for
that.
example, obviously pig ears. Or this.
It looks like a rose to me. But a rose is a rose is a rose, as they say.
Yeah, and my book is called Not a Rose.
Not a rose, right.
And these are fish tails and fish eyes. And I use all these trash organs, sex organs, whatever, and put them onto a plant.
Sure.
And then I take a photo
All right,
of it.
2 minutes to go, so let's, we'll have to move, because you know what, we're not going to have enough time. I'm going to have you on again, because I wanted to discuss the political aspects of this, because of course it's very political, and we've discussed, and you're willing to discuss the, especially that first picture which shows the barbed wire, reminds me, of course, of, you know, war. Right, and we talk about the Holocaust, and of course you're a very progressive person who fights against that kind of thing, and in a way part of your politics is to illustrate the horrors of that. It seems, anyway. I mean, I can tell.
Speaking of illustrating the horror of that, I did a show which was called Oil Spill.
Yeah.
And that was in 2010 after the BP oil spill. And I was so upset that I collected all roadkill I could find. I was driving around finding animals on the street.
Wow.
And I covered them in oil and did a huge show, invited actually 80 other artists to do artwork for the oil spill and send it to Audubon, to these people who...
It looks like those, you know, when the oil spills happen and they're trying to save the birds and it never really happens.
Exactly.
But you created it using oil and roadkill.
Just to make people aware again what we do and what we have to change.
So we have half a minute. I want to show this for a second. There it is. We have half a minute left. I just want to remind people, Heide Hatry, this Thursday, November 16th, Gallery Sensei at 7 p.m., 135 Eldridge Street. Then on November 28th, Tuesday, the Artist Talk on Art at National Arts Club, 15 Gramercy Park. And on Wednesday, November 29th, the opening material Reality 2 at the Stux Gallery at 520 West End Avenue. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.